everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily Show YouTube channel. The best way to support the show on this YouTube channel is to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and or share it with a friend. I hope that you guys enjoy this episode, and whichever way you choose to support the show, I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much. I hope that today's message and episode brings some bit of positive change to your life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and today I'm really excited to have a guest here in the studio with me. He is a Phorm elite athlete. He is a gymnast and all-around badass. You cannot leave his Instagram without a smile on your face and some inspiration in your heart. Everybody, please welcome Stacey Ervin to the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you for having me on here.
I'm seriously so excited because I love having my first Phorm fam with me, and to have you in Houston is amazing.
Honestly, it's like every time we've had a conversation, it's something that is worthy of having recorded.
Literally, like at dinner the last athlete weekend, we were like, dang it, this should be recorded right now.
Right.
They were like, well, that's okay. Let's actually get in the studio and press record.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Let's give them a little background for people that haven't discovered you yet. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about Stacey before first Phorm. Mm-hmm. What did you do? Tell me a little bit about your gymnast background.
I've done quite a few things. Strongest part of my background would be gymnastics, right? Like I did gymnastics since the age of 6. So, people ask me how long I've done it, and I would say since I was 6. So that would be about 22 years.
That's wild.
And although I don't do it competitively anymore, like I still keep up with some aspects of it. And so I'm gonna just keep adding that time up, So,
of course.
So through gymnastics, was able to go to the University of Michigan. I was on the junior national team ahead of college, had some international assignments, competitions in Europe, went to the Great Britain National Training Center for a competition. During that competition, I'm like 15 years old at that time, but we're competing against future Olympians and future teammates and collegiate competitors, and just a really great experience. But junior national team through gymnastics, senior national team during my college years, won back-to-back national championships and Big Ten conference championships with my team. That was incredible experience. That's something you can't forget. Like,
never.
The team's actually at NCAA's this weekend. They have day 2 tonight, so they have a strong chance of winning. I went to the University of Michigan, if I hadn't already said that. Mm-hmm. So go blue.
Yeah,
hope you guys do well
blue
tonight.
Get it.
But gymnastics was a strong part of my background. After graduation, I moved to Texas. I went to Austin at first and was working with Oracle, doing like account management.
That's funny. I know someone else that worked at Oracle for a while.
Yeah.
It's so random.
It's like, it's a good place to start, and it's a good place to finish too. It's a great company. Mm-hmm. But I was in a cubicle, and like, again, if you
were not made for a cubicle.
I'm not made for a cubicle.
I can only imagine.
It was 9 months. Like I was there for 9 months, and I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. Like my soul is dying right now.
No,
like,
yeah.
But 9 months, I was reborn.
That's awesome.
I had to leave that. It just wasn't serving my vision or my feeling of who I am and who I was becoming. So I left that, got back into gymnastics coaching. I actually moved to Houston for about 2.5 years.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, I was up in spring coaching at World Champion Center, doing cool. Gymnastics, coaching, and became the director of the boys program. During that time, it was like fueling my interests and passions and hobbies for like the creative arts. Was taking like acting classes, etc. Got the opportunity to work with WWE as a professional wrestler, had a tryout. They offered me a contract. I went, did it. That was an experience. That took me from Houston to Florida. Orlando, did that for about a year, had fun. Another experience where I was just like, this just quite isn't aligning with me. Like risk versus reward for me was just not there. It wasn't where my passions lied. So I left that, had nothing going, all the while throughout all this, I'm building a social presence, but I didn't really like have an intention with it at the time. And, that helped me kind of foster getting into the fitness space more and coaching and helping people like develop their own potential and really, that starts as a seed after I leave that, and there's nothing, like the floor drops from underneath me.
Wow.
Of my own decision. I didn't have to leave, but like I had to leave. And from there, things have just kind of aligned, sometimes not very apparently, but the way that God threads the threads of life is pretty amazing to see how things play out now. And just the peace that I find in my life and my path and what I'm doing and the people that I associate with and where I'm at, it's just really fulfilling.
So when did First Phorm come in the picture?
I've actually been working with them through the Legionnaire program since 2017. So this will be year 5. But last year is when I had gained that elite athlete position. And I was like, woo, that's a blessing, major blessing.
Awesome.
Because just everyone involved with the company and the culture is just so driven. They're independently strong, but that independence also ties into such a great team culture. Like it's really something. I was saying it when we were there at the athlete weekend. I was like, just looking around, taking a moment. I'm like, man, we're a part of something that's like extremely special. Like this is not even something that is like, you can't replicate this. You can't try and cultivate this elsewhere. Like you could try, but you're gonna get something that's not it. It would be a watered down version. And so like that, it really was an affirmation of things I had already felt and thought about. And so having that affirmation just kind of even gave me a little more belief, as if I hadn't already done things that should have solidified that for me within me. Like that's not something that someone else can give me,
Yeah.
Just taking that next step from being outside of where I felt I was aiming at, and then being in something that aligned so well really gave me more confidence, more belief in myself, and enabled me to use that to help other people kind of start to fuel that fire themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really challenging to cultivate that if you've never had that experience. Like, and I've had plenty of experiences of being coached and being led. Some people never have that. And so like, it really solidified in the fact that like, yo, you're supposed to be doing this, like you're supposed to be helping people in that way.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I hear from you is that you are going down your life path, right? And you're taking these new opportunities, which are great, doing your best at them and realizing that like it still isn't fully aligned with who you are. And I think it takes a lot of courage to leave that, because it was probably hard to land the job. It was probably hard to land the WWE thing. Like I'm sure you had to work really hard for those things. So to get to a point where you work really hard for it, you attain it, and then you kind of have that like pit in your stomach, like, damn, this still isn't it, you know? But you think about how each one of those experiences probably molded you, shaped you, and prepared you even for where you went next. And so like you said, it's not that the First Phorm Elite Athlete thing gave you something you didn't have, but it did confirm what was already there, which I think is beautiful. And I think it's really encouraging for people to listen to who may be at like the earlier parts of your journey where they're going after things, they get it, and then it's kind of like not exactly what they thought it would be, just to keep going, because eventually when you do find it, it's so worth it. And I have to kind of echo what you were saying at the athlete weekend. I myself just looked around the room for a second, and I think we all have this moment every time we're there.
Kind of like observe for a minute.
Yes. You try to like take yourself out of it, and you just look around at all the people, and you're like, I'm literally in a room of excellence. Like I'm not just in a room of people that are like cool or doing good things. I'm in a room of greatness, of people who live and breathe excellence. Like you cannot be in there and have bad posture.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's something
so
as simple as that. Like when you're in there, you are postured, you are,
Right.
Like it makes you walk different, right?
Yeah, and what is so powerful about getting around that energy, getting around that group of people, specific to this, the group that we have, is there's no facade. That's authentic. That's authentic being in those moments. Nobody's like, oh, I better straighten up.
Right.
You're already there. You're already in it, because that's already how you're carrying yourself in your day-to-day life. And at times it's been challenging for me to like remember that it's not like that everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I see, you know, like
yes,
I see things and I'm like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you do that? You know, like even very, very potent, visceral example. Everyone sees it. Everyone sees it. Some people don't see it though. What? Everyone sees it, but they don't see it. The grocery carts.
Oh no.
For me, it's just a small thing. It's a small act that like just shows that like, are you disciplined? Are you helpful to others? Like, do you understand that this is a dance that we're all a part of? That it's not just your dance? Like, you could have to rush off to somewhere. That cart carousel is like 20 feet away. Just take the time, the moment, because if you're not doing it, you're going to force someone else, although it may be their job to retrieve carts. Like, you can make it much easier on them by making it slightly more difficult on yourself. It's just small things. How you do anything is how you do everything. Yeah. And that energy of excellence is like contagious, and it is pervasive in those settings to where it's like, wow, I can't separate myself from the experience I'm having to say that like that excellence isn't also being formed within myself. And it's wonderful to recognize that, because then with that intention, you can share that with other people and uplift whatever community it is that you're in. And it's really powerful.
I agree. And I think there are some people in this world that your life has changed simply by being around them. It's the way that they live their lives. They actually don't even have to say anything, right? They don't have to like tell you what to do. It's just by being around them, there's kind of like this mirror that's held up to you. For example, because we're on the first Phorm thing, let's use HQ, right? You go there is not a single water droplet on the faucets, right? So like after spending a weekend there and recognizing that and realizing, okay, if I'm washing my hands, I got to wipe this off too. You come home to your faucet and you're like, why does my faucet have water droplets on it? Like this is now it's not cool.
Right.
Like now this doesn't fly with me. Whereas previously maybe it did, because maybe that wasn't on your mind or on your awareness, right? Where now I'm like, why are there water droplets downstairs?
Right. That awareness precedes change. Always. Awareness precedes change. And when you get around enough people of the same understanding and they have an elevated standard of excellence for their own living, and you can recognize that, hey, I like this, well, then you can replicate that in your own, and you should. If that's something that you desire, something that is nice, something that you feel is conducive, not just to the cleanliness of the environment, but like internally you feel like, oh man, that is something like I should do. Well, then act on that. And sometimes it's challenging to do that if you don't recognize it. You know, you don't have that awareness in your environment. But if you're aware of it, well, now you're kind of burdened with that responsibility.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. Because it's like once you're aware, now it's you're making the conscious decision to either go forward in the direction of excellence or stay where you're at. And here's the thing too about being around others that practice excellence. It's not special. You're not special for doing what is our standard and our baseline, right? That's literally the bare minimum to people that practice excellence. Whereas to other people, they may think it's such a high standard,
right?
You know, so I think it really is important that, especially for people listening, like go and get around people that make you level up, because it's a real thing. After you go and spend a weekend with them, like anytime I'm around you guys for the whole weekend, I come back like invigorated, excited. I have to tell you this. So I have always kind of struggled, so to speak, to get my own content in certain ways, right? I'm just like, it's such a pain in the butt. Like it takes so much effort, right? And then I go and I watch you at HQ and I see you with your tripod and I see you killing your workout, and then I see a reel posted hours later, a beautifully created reel, and a mirror was held up to me. I was like, you're the issue, not the camera, not someone helping you or not. It's literally you. Like either suck it up or hire someone, but stop being in between.
Right. And I'm glad you shared that with me, and I appreciate that.
I was like, damn it, Stacey.
You're making me do this. You're making me do this.
Yeah, and you're just like, what?
Yeah. Oh, I got like 3 more I got to get done. Literally. But even in that instance, it's like, it's challenging, because that weekend particularly, I intentionally challenged myself to do that,
to get
because
that
I know what happens usually if I get around when if I'm there in particular, right? Because we are there to create some content and typically like brand focused stuff, which will get done regardless. Like that will happen. But I always just say to myself, I was just in the moment. So and it's kind of like a cop out for me, and it feels good, like the justification, because it is true. Like I do get lost in the moment. Yeah. Not lost in the moment, but I am enjoying each moment very intentionally. It's that this time I set the intention to continue what I do normally while I'm enjoying what is additional in the experience, which is being there and the people I'm around and the energy that they bring to the situation and to their own lives. Really, like that's really it. They're bringing that energy to their own lives, and that is what fuels me when I get around everybody. And that weekend in particular, I told myself, this weekend you're making it happen. You're still gonna get branded stuff. That's gonna happen regardless, but the way you create things is not the same way they create things. And one is not better than the other. They're just serving different purposes. Yeah. And so like, if you don't do this, you're going to walk away feeling disappointed that you didn't. And I was like, well, making that decision ahead of time, I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it. Like, no one's judging anybody for making content. You know
Absolutely
what I'm saying?
Not.
And like, and I had to get over the fact that like, before I felt like, oh man, if I'm doing this, people are going to think I'm like being, people are going to think I'm being an influencer and being pretentious and like, no, I got to do my own thing. But it's like, and you can attest to this, like that's not the energy I was bringing at all. Like I was trying my best to like, I wanted to include everybody in, and I was like, this is so cool. Like the experience we're having is a culmination of everybody. Like I want that to be present in that presentation of that content. And because it's not about the content that is seen, it's about the content of the moments that is happening. And like, it was really fun to put that together because it was a way for me to magnify others through the channel without doing something that is off the wall or totally like different. Yes. Yeah. And it was just like, wow, okay. So it was me this whole time doing this and giving myself excuses to like get out of like what seemed like work, but inevitably what happens every time you create something like that, anytime you create something, is like, there's tension within the moments. Like psychologically you have to overcome some things to like make it happen. Yeah. But in the end, you're always like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I saw was just dedication to your craft. Like the second I saw you out there, getting your angles and the camera and the tripod, I was like, damn, like he's working hard. It gave me more respect for you.
I appreciate that.
And then the moments that you got, I was just like, that is so cool. Like, I wish I had some of those moments too, like on video. Cause being on YouTube and such, I've taken a little break from my YouTube and I am relaunching it. But for a while there, I was vlogging a lot. So I was always the person with the camera, always the person like setting it up to try to get just like the natural moments that we have, and so I know it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of just intentionality behind it. So I love that you mentioned that it was just like this intentional decision. So, okay, I want to switch gears a little bit. On your page, you cannot leave a single day without noticing just the gratitude that you have for your life. And I love that you choose to share that consistently on your page because one, it never gets old. And I say that because I know that as a content creator, you sometimes think like, are people tired of saying the same thing?
Right.
But no, like it's never old to see somebody expressing gratitude for life. So I want to know, where does your gratitude for life come? Because you can tell it comes from a genuine place. So how are you so just grateful for life in general?
It is the single greatest emotion and superpower that anybody can elicit in themselves and in others. If you can make someone else feel gratitude for their own life, woo, that's powerful for them. And that's powerful for that relationship between the two of you. Even if you're not in contact, it's just a very powerful force. And it's taken a while for that to be solidified as far as an understanding. Like I knew, but I didn't understand. And it came from tribulation. It comes from challenge. When you're in those moments of like desperation or grief or challenge that feel like a burden that feels like it's going to overcome you, and then you make it out on the other side, that gratitude is born out of that. And so there have been challenging moments in my life. My mother passed away when I was 17.
Wow.
And that was, I've even found gratitude for that. You know, like that sounds weird to say. Yeah. Like someone might hear that and be like, how do you even say that? You sounds monstrous. But like truly in the most positive way, because you have to find gratitude for the experience, or else it turns into a negative cycle or story that you tell yourself, and then that just drags you down. Yeah. But I find gratitude in that happening because I know what pain feels like. I know what grief feels like. And if I'm not in that, the absence of that is a great feeling, you know? And that's mundane. That's normalcy. Like, so I don't get bored anymore, you know? Like if someone's bored, like that's their responsibility, like to change that, you know? And I don't get bored because I'm grateful for, even if it's downtime, if it's, you know, there's a lull. Well, there's a lull for a reason. It's still the present moment. There's something that you could be doing or thinking that's going to help you improve upon your mental, physical, spiritual well-being. And that all stems from being grateful for what you have, what you're working towards, what you've been through. And so it's just a reframing of your story. That's where I find that gratitude, is reframing that story to be like, wow, it's empowering me to be better, to help more, to serve more. And it really is essential. It is like the central point.
Absolutely. Gratitude, I think, you know, and thank you for sharing that. It's honestly incredible. And that's why I ask, because often what I found is the people with the deepest sense of gratitude is because they know the opposite of that. And so I think it's really powerful. And I hope that people listening, whether they've had that really extreme, you know, scenario to make them understand gratitude, or if they're just listening to this, I hope that it can really help them understand it at a deeper level, that man, you should be thankful. You should have gratitude for your life and where it's at. You know, you've made it through 100% of all of the hard things that you've been through and walked through.
Right.
So what's to say you're not going to make it through like this thing that you're facing right now? And I think gratitude is a really great way to kind of just recenter yourself. I remember in some of my hardest, darkest times, I would sit there with just a sheet of paper and 1, 2, 3 written down, right? And I'm like, okay, find something to be grateful for. You know, and finding like 3 things that I was really just truly grateful for carried me through on some of the hardest days. And then, like you mentioned, like when you're not in that season anymore, you're just like, a normal day.
Right.
Like, thank God.
Right.
You know, you can breathe easy, and you know, you're like, you know that you can make it through whatever comes your way, because you're like, okay, I've already made it through that hardest moment. Your faith is something that you're pretty open about on your platforms as well. I'm curious, did losing your mother, did that impact your faith in a negative way at all? Did you find your faith in that? Like, how did that kind of play a factor?
It's a really winding process. I don't think, like, during my college years, so she passed away, I was 17. 2 weeks after that, I went to college. So like, whoa, big transition. Whoa, really a whirlwind of things happening. And it's not like I wasn't like deep in my faith during that period of time. And I would say really deep in my faith and understanding, more so in like the past year and a half than maybe any other time. But, you know, raise a child in the way that they shall go and they will not depart, you know, and it's great, because that's one of the things I'm most grateful for, is having that faith, being raised like that gave me the ability to retrospectively look back, like, what was that about? What was all that time invested there for? You know, what was that all about? And, you know, and bringing a different level of mind to that path, not because someone told me to externally, has allowed me to explore it with more intention, passion, and like apply it as an understanding. Like, you know, everyone, whatever faith you are of, everyone is still of a different understanding, because you have to come to a different point in your journey. And it's it's central also to me, like faith and gratitude. Like it's two very important central aspects of my character. And it's really been a potent source of continuation and vision development and just understanding of like the present moment. It's been huge.
What are a few elements, maybe like daily practices or things that you do that feed your faith and your gratitude?
Great question. Morning rituals. I used to use the word lightly, like, yeah, maybe I'll get through my morning rituals. I might do it, you know.
Oh yeah.
I do it most of the time. Like now it's like a non-negotiable. Waking up and setting the day with intention, because even if I can't do it physically, like if I don't have my tools for my practices with me, which would be a book, pen and paper. I have a notebook typically. I have a meditation cushion. These are things to help me do that stuff physically. But I've had days where like I've been out and I haven't had that stuff with me, and I have to do it spiritually. You know, like I have to go through those motions in my mind and set myself up for the day ahead to really give me, to fuel my faith, to give me that ability to see things with those spiritual eyes. So I really, irregardless of someone's faith belief or what have you, spiritual laws are laws. You can't break them. You can try, but like you can't. And so like for me, it could be different for everybody, but for me, what's grounding for me is having a time to read something that will fuel my faith, whether it be the Bible or a scriptural text or a devotional, or maybe not even anything necessarily directly related to that. Something like Napoleon Hill or something, you know what I mean? Like something that fuels your faith and your mind, that to give you confidence and courage that you're a conscious creator of your own experience. Reading something like that, that's fueling me. Writing things down. You mentioned writing down 3 things you're grateful for. It's such an underused practice that is able to make such a tremendous difference. And even on an aside, just writing in general, I view it, you know, we go to the gym and we're lifting, we're hitting reps, like awesome, great for the body, great for the mind, great for everything. Writing is a reconditioning process for your mind.
Wow. That's such a good way to put it.
Like when you're in that moment, when you're writing pen to paper, if you're not there, you're going to make a grammatical error, a spelling error. You're going to write on the wrong line. Like you have to be so present when you're writing and transcribing your thoughts to physical manifestations. Like you have to be so present that it conditions you, because you're thinking so intently to get it down, that thought is also being etched on your heart. So like I try to think about this, not when I'm writing, but when I'm in my thought life. If you wouldn't write it down, don't let the thoughts sink down.
Wow.
Like, and you got to be vigilant for that. Like it is like being watchful. Sometimes I'm like, bro, just chill. But like, but you, and it's not a bad thing. Like when I say chill, I'm like in jest, because it's not bad. Like being a watchful observer of that has been very potent, and it saved me from saying things that like not necessarily would be bad, but wouldn't necessarily be constructive to a conversation or add value. Or if I had said it and I'm like, I could see how that could be taken the wrong way. So it's just being like watchful of yourself. But that has been a very powerful thought for me, is like, all right, if you're not going to write it, if you wouldn't write that down, which means you would have to be very present with that and mean it. Yeah. You'd have to mean it if you wrote it down. Like, don't let that thought sink into your mind and into your heart. And that's powerful. And so I'll usually, read, write, whatever the order of that is, and then stew in those thoughts and take that over into my meditation. Because, you're talking about writing down things you're grateful for, and it's powerful because you're there. And as you're there with it, it's like, let that feeling be evoked. Like, let that emotion actually be sprung from within. Like, when we're writing about, and I catch myself, like, I'll just write things down like passively. I'm grateful for the bed I woke up in. I'm grateful that I got food in my fridge. Like, and it's like, well, that's not as powerful as being like, whoa, okay. I did wake up in a bed today. Wow. Not everyone gets that opportunity. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I have food in my fridge. I'm able to, I have a vehicle that can transport me wherever I need to go. Like feeling that, like that, having that emotional residue, like that's part of the reconditioning process, because emotions are just like the thoughts of the body. So it's like taking that, and then after I'm reading and writing and go to sit down into meditation, whether it's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, like taking that time to really solidify that and like nail that to the proverbial cross of my mind, then I can rise to a situation rather than like meet a situation where it's coming to me at,
Yeah, that's good. Practically, do you do guided meditation or do you do your own meditation? Is it in your own thoughts?
Typically in the morning, I will just do a silent meditation by myself, let thoughts settle, and then try and really get beyond myself as far as like really just being the observer. But if I do guided meditations, it's typically something that is going to be like a longer thing. Like it's like a Joe Dispenza meditation. Like they're cool. 45 minutes, an hour long. And like, I've told people that, and I'm like, what? You sat there for like an hour? And I'm like, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But like, I've challenged myself before, like didn't even share it with anybody, it was just literally a personal thing. Like I went on Canva and like made this like little like 30-day challenge tracker for myself, like printed it out, and like awesome. It was like a 30-day like meditation thing.
Tell me your type A without telling me your type A.
Right. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this because like I know that this motivates me to like when I'm doing a challenge with like my clients, so like this will motivate me to do it for myself. And like I had 30-day meditation tracker, and like each meditation was at least like, 40 minutes to an hour long. And so I did it for 30 days. And like, even doing that, like helped me reestablish like my mindset and like my emotional baseline,
Wow.
Because like, there's things you have to overcome from your past that you don't even know you have to overcome. Like it's just where your emotions will rise or fall to. Like that emotional baseline is so important. Like mindset is important, but like your emotion set is so critical because it's going to underline your mindset. Like, and that was a hard reset for me. And it's a daily maintenance thing. Like that's why those morning rituals are so crucial, because it's not like, oh, cool, I made it. Like you could very easily just slip back down to where you elevated yourself from.
Oh, for sure. And that's one reason why I'm obsessed with the cold plunge that I have, because it's a real practical and tangible way to practice really not reacting, but feeling your emotions and then learning to like control and to settle into it. And I guess I would really say to let go of what you can't control, right? But control what you can, which is like your breathing, your mindset. And for me, I think it's really helped to give me a new emotional baseline as well. It's like when other stressful things happen in life, I'm able to just like, okay, just like the plunge, let me just breathe right through this. Yep. Let me really think about this. And let me come from a peaceful stance. And if I'm not in that like surrendered, peaceful stance, then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to address this just yet.
Right.
Or like if I'm feeling overly emotional, whether that's like, usually when I get exhausted, I'm literally like a child. I like need a nap and food and then I'm fine.
Same.
But like when I'm in that exhausted mode, I'm like, why am I doing this? What is my purpose? And I'm literally just tired and need a nap.
Yep.
So I tell myself,
even 30 minutes. Yes. Give me 30 minutes.
Yes. I always tell myself, I'm like, you're not allowed to make decisions when you're tired.
Yeah.
None. You don't get to make any decisions. You literally have to eat and take a nap. Right. 20-minute nap, fine.
Right. Yes.
And then get back to work.
Yes. It's so funny you say that, because like that's something I've been trying to institute in my life, like pretty recently. Like I'd say like within like the last 2 months or so, it's been something where I'm like, I have time freedom, right? I have the time freedom only expands with my ability to be disciplined on certain things, which like my morning rituals, I know that gives me the ability to have more freedom.
Yeah.
But even that, like understanding like, yo, I'm just tired and I need to like just stop, because so many of us just like push through that in the day, and then we do things and we're like get to the end of the day and we're super exhausted and we're looking back pessimistically. So it's like doubly negative. It's like, why did I do any of that for the past 6 hours? Like that didn't do anything for me. And like the 20-30 minute naps have been a game changer. Like if you can find that time, don't find it. Make that time. That is so crucial. Like, I'll be doing stuff, like, especially like after a harder workout in the morning, and I'll get through some work stuff. And then I'll like, it'll be like 1:30, 2, you know, and then I'm like, ugh.
Same.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, it's not even 3. It's not even 2:30. What's going on right now? And so like, I'm like, okay, you know, just wake me up and I'll get up in 30 minutes. Sometimes I don't even fall asleep. Sometimes I'm just like in a deep trance state for 30 minutes, but no stimulation, just allowing the mind to settle, and just getting that time just resets me. It's almost like another morning.
I say the same thing. I'm like, I literally just got a whole nother day and I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. I'm motivated again.
Yes. Yeah. It's so powerful because you're like, whoa. And it only took 30 minutes for that. Like, dang, or 20 minutes, whatever it is. And then like on top of that, needing food. Like, so a lot of my conversations lately have like with like family or friends have like stemmed around food. Cause I'm like, it's not a judgy thing. I don't care. Eat how you will, but I'm definitely gonna tell you how to like improve your energy. Like, I will definitely let you know.
It's not a judgy thing.
Yeah, it's really not. Like, because like they'll sometimes people feel that way. Yeah, like when you talk about nutrition, because they're reflecting on themselves to think like, I know I shouldn't be making these decisions, but I keep making them anyway. And so like, I make it very apparent with them, like, hey, you can do what you want, and that's fine by me. Like, it doesn't affect me. Yeah. What you eat ain't gonna put nothing on me and won't affect my energy in the slightest. But I want to let you know what you are expressing to me can also be changed by your own actions and decisions. And like, this is how you could like, you know, do that. It's like, I'm in coach mode. We're just trying to have a conversation. Totally. I'm in like coach mode. And like, it's so powerful, you know, like food is fuel, food is fuel, food is fuel. I try and emphasize that so many times to just help people understand, like, it's not just like a thing to get pleasure from or just enjoy, but it's like, yo, literally like throughout the day, if you're feeling run down, maybe you need to observe like nutritionally, like, oh, I just don't have time at work to eat. Bullshit. Yeah, you get a lunch break first and foremost, but secondarily, like, you have time throughout the day. Like, you're not always locked in juggernaut mode on your work. Like, you're doing other things. So it's like, it fuels your brain, it fuels your body, and it gives you energy. And like, it's so important. Naps and food.
Yeah, naps and food. That's what the title's going to be. Naps and food. And here's the thing too, for people that kind of struggle to make healthier decisions, I've found that when you give yourself an opportunity to feel what it feels like to have good nutrition, right? You stay dedicated, even though you don't want to, for let's say like 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, but for sure by 3 weeks, you're going to start to notice I am feeling way better than I did when I was putting all this junk inside of my body. And then it goes away from so much like using self-discipline and just like this mighty strength to like, don't eat the Doritos.
Yes.
It switches. You're like, I kind of want the Doritos, but honestly, it makes me feel like crap.
Right.
Like, honestly, I know that I feel way better when I'm having good nutrition and all these micronutrients, right? And so your decision-making process goes away from this, like, I'm just trying to do this program, to I want to feel good. I want to feel optimal. I want to have a better life. And I know that this does that for me. So it's not that you don't ever eat the Doritos, but it's like, it doesn't become a daily habit because, you know, on the daily, it doesn't make you feel good.
Exactly. And that's such a strong point to make. And it's overlooked by quite a few people in fitness. You know, they just want to look a certain way. Yeah. And I always express to my clients, like, hey, you'll achieve a look, but first you're going to achieve a feel, like, and that's going to make you more motivated to attain that physical aspect of your goal once your energy rises to a certain level. Yeah. And it's a game changer because that you bring a new energy to your life and you're able to like create better things just because you're feeling better about yourself. You know, you're making good decisions, and it's just like it's a synergistic effect, and it's super powerful.
Absolutely. And you know, I know that you probably experience the same, but clients come to you and they're like, hey, I want a 6-pack, right? And then it's like, when you actually start to work with them and get them with the proper mindset that allows them to step into that kind of physique, it's like that physique and those goals, they come with time when you first get everything else in order, when you're focusing on your nutrition, you have a healthy mindset, because oftentimes people really can't progress beyond their current mindset. And I know that you teach a lot of mindset on your social media platforms, on Instagram, but also within your clients. So how do you go about like working with the clients and helping them realize how important their mindset is, how important it is to work through limiting beliefs? You know, what are some things that you do to help them become aware to their current mindsets, limiting beliefs, things like that?
A lot of the times it involves asking the questions just so they can hear the answers they're giving me.
That's good. Yeah.
And they don't always hear it, you know, like right when they say it, but I'll listen. I'm like, did you just hear yourself?
So what I'm hearing is.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm hearing you say is.
Right. And I'm like, did you just hear like how you worded that to me? You know, like, did you hear how you're expressing, like those words are coming from you, about you. Someone else didn't tell me that about how you feel, like you said that. And starting to give them that reflective perception of themselves, like again, holding that mirror up for them. Sometimes that is one of the most effective things, because they're like, oh, okay. But then other times you hold that mirror up and they're still not able to see like why they have to get past that though for themselves. Like it's still like the responsibility is shifted to me, as if like it's going to be me who makes that change for them. And in that instance where they're not quite seeing it still, sometimes it's not even the time for that understanding for them.
That's so good.
Like you can't bring someone to an understanding that they're not prepared for, or that they want to have. And so in those times, sometimes it's just giving them grace and hearing them. I may reflect that back to them, but there's also times where you know they're not quite ready. And in those moments, that's when I'll, you know, drop a little nugget that will help them out. Something
like the right next step.
Yes, like just something to get them moving. Could be a book recommendation. Could be like a little brief exercise, you know, something that is going to just give them something actionable that they can work on, because that might be the step. It might be the action that gives them the ability to desire a deeper understanding. That's not even necessarily the information they get from a book or necessarily following through with the practice, but the decision to buy the book, the decision to give the practice a try. You read the book, right?
Open the book up.
Open the book. The decision to try the exercise out. That is a step forward for them to show internally, hey, I am serious about this. Okay, cool. So next time when we talk, now they may be more inclined or more prepared for the understanding of how they're standing in their own way. And
that's
then
so good.
So it's just a challenge. You know how it is. It's like every single person is different. So every single moment or instance of that requires a different level of mind to bring to it, because there's again, it's always two different minds interacting. So it's like, where's that space that you can create the change at?
That is incredibly wise for you to say. And I actually don't see a lot of people coaching like that. Like, you are intuitive with where the person's at and what would be most helpful to them. Whereas a lot of people would say, well, let me just tell you how it is. Right. And I was kind of laughing because I have been in that position before as a client, right? Like, I started working with my therapist a long time ago, but I expressed all these things to him, and then he goes, okay, so you don't see it? I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, this is what you're doing. And I go, uh-huh. And I'm just like smiling. It's almost like as if you were to tell me, like, you're eating pizza and you're expecting to drop weight. And I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, right.
And you're like, oh, dear God. He goes, that's not good.
Right.
And I was like, oh. He goes, yeah, we're going to talk about this. But yeah, you know, sometimes it is hard to be self-aware. You know, in my own life, that's actually one reason why I started working with a therapist, because I was like, my life is great. I'm achieving all these goals. Like, I'm where I want to be, ... I was like, I know there's a blind spot.
Right.
I know that there's something that I'm not seeing. And so for me, even though I read books, I journal, I have all of these personal development practices, I really needed to hire somebody or, just talk to somebody that could kind of see my blind spot, so to speak. And I think that's what's special about being in a trainer or coach position is we get to be that for people and reflect what we see back and help them work on that personal growth and development. And one thing I heard you say was sometimes it's just important to give them grace. And I think that's really beautiful because people need that, and I think sometimes people come to a coach or a trainer and they think like, they feel like they're going to be in trouble, right? They're like, oh my God, like I don't want them to know that I'm not perfect. And it's like a good trainer, a good coach is going to, one, recognize that you're human because they're human too. Right. And then two, give you grace for where you're at to help you out of that hole so that you don't keep falling in the same hole.
Right.
And I just think it's great that you practice that way. So speaking, since we're kind of on the topic, tell me a little bit about the coaching that you do. Who do you help and what is your goal? Like what's your ideal client and kind of, what do you love about coaching?
Got you. One thing I will speak to Grace before that, and I might have to ask you to re-ask the question.
Oh, okay.
But I just think it's important to emphasize. I was actually speaking with my brother about this morning. Giving someone that space for grace. When you give someone that grace, it gives them space to create a change. Like the opposite of grace is shame, right? Like, and they're shaming themselves when they're bringing issues to you timidly. Like they're already like, oh, I'm going to be in trouble. They're not going to like this. I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing that. And then you like tell them like, no, like it's all right. Like you're even the fact that you're aware of it and you're thinking about it tells me that you're still in the realm. Like you're there, and not to always be like super light about it. Cause sometimes you need like a strong change. Like you need someone to help you wake up, but like you can do that gracefully also, but giving them that grace gives them space to understand like, oh, like, yeah, maybe today wasn't perfect, but like, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be. I just need to take a step forward. So that space for grace is that space that grace creates is like massively transformational because first of all, you have to be able to give that to yourself in order to give it to someone else. But secondarily, once they can receive it, then they are now of the understanding like, hey, I can give myself grace without, totally disregarding what I need to get done. But like, if it wasn't perfect, then like, that's all right, but I know I can do better and I will do better.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
It's just extremely valuable.
Yeah.
But yeah, ask that question.
Yeah, I knew. I was waiting for it.
I was like, hold up.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about who you work with. Do you work with men, women? Do you work with both? Who's your ideal client? And what do you love about coaching with your clients?
Awesome. I work with women and men. I work with both. I enjoy working with anyone, ideally, who is serious about wanting to make a change, because it's really challenging to help someone who, one, doesn't want to be helped, but two, isn't really ready to be helped. Like, I was talking with a friend yesterday, and he was like, what are the only two things that, there's only two things that make people change. And I was like, what is that? Like, they get sick of their own bullshit? Like, And he was like, well, kind of. He's like, pain or reward.
I was thinking that.
Yeah. He's like, it's only pain or reward.
Yep.
And sometimes people will come to you because they think they want the reward, but they don't really want it. So they're not really activated for change. And sometimes people come to you because they're in pain, but they don't even realize that they've attached so much pain to their ego that they actually like it. Oh, wow. And that's a challenge. That's tough.
Yeah.
You can't even tell someone that. It's like you're so ingrained in what this pain has brought to you because you get attention for it, and you get people talk to you about it, and they'll stay in that space with you, and then it's just rehashed for you, and you can like kind of feed off of it.
Almost like create your identity based on your pain and where you've been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I love working with people who have come to a point of realizing like, okay, I want this bad enough that I'm willing to work for it. Like I want the reward. Like I'm ready to challenge myself for it. And also enjoy working with people, maybe even more so, who are like, I'm sick of feeling this way about myself. Like I'm hurting, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't even have to be that deep. Like, it doesn't have to be like crazy deep, but like they're tired of not getting the results out of life that they're wanting.
Yeah.
Because they just haven't been able to either connect with someone who can help elevate that emotional experience for them to like make a change, or they're just like, this is just not working. And now I need someone to assist me in this because I've tried to figure it out and I just can't. So
yeah, I think, and here's the thing, think about somebody who, for example, guy or girl that goes to a pool party and they feel self-conscious. What is on their mind the entire time of the pool party? It's just being self-conscious, not feeling comfortable, feeling so uncomfortable in their own skin, right? And then think about the person that like just feels good and healthy and confident and the way that they want to feel, right? They're there present and enjoying their conversations and just experiencing life a completely different way.
Right.
And I think that's what's really beautiful about getting your health and your nutrition, your mindset, like all in order. It's not a 6-pack. It's not an exact physique. It's just an inner feeling and a confidence and a knowing that like you are confident in yourself. Right. And I think that is something that everybody deserves, but not everybody gets, because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to get there. It takes consistency. It takes intentionality. But I do think it's something that everybody deserves if they're willing to work for it. Because at the end of the day, like, I don't even, like, here's the thing. We've talked about this at the dinner this last weekend, but it's like, these are just earth suits. Like, our bodies are just these earth suits. Like, who we actually are these like beautiful spiritual selves that are inside. And so it's like, I really don't care what someone's outside looks like, but I've really experienced in my own life and in all my clients' lives, right, that when we start to better align the outside with the inside, to let the inside like show and to reflect, I think that's where we come into full alignment of who we were created to be. Because I don't believe that we were created to be in excess of anything. You know, I think we were really created to be the fullest expression of ourselves, which is the most excellent version of ourselves.
Right.
It's not the lazy version. It's not the snooze version. It's not the sit on the couch version.
Yep.
Like, if we're here and alive and breathing, we should be moving our feet and moving our body and being functional and breathing well and having a healthy mindset. And all of these things take work, but at the end of the day, it's actually not that hard.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
It's again, from a conversation I was having yesterday, I'm saying it just happens. Just just in that energy of like, it's not hard to do. It's easy to do, but it's easier not to do it.
Yep.
And as humans, the tendency is to take the path of least resistance, but you can't take the path of least resistance and truly expect the most reward. It doesn't work that way. And you hit the nail on the head in saying that those actions, that alignment from inside to outside, once you're in harmony with that, then you find peace. Even amidst like turmoil, like you can still maintain that peace, but that only comes from aligning intentional thought life and spiritual intention, mental intention, psychological intention with physical action. Like, if there is a incongruency with that, well, you're living in static and you're not going to be fully aligned, and you're not going to have confidence because you're not sure you can execute on what you thought you could, what you thought you said you would do, what you said you would go after, because you're not acting on it. And it's like the small actions that add up, and those start to like give you the ability to like slowly bring that back. So when you are in alignment and in harmony, you're bringing your fullest self, your fullest expression into a moment, rather than these two separate pieces of yourself where you're thinking one way and then you're acting in another. And that's just like, you can't be confident in that. How can you be sure-footed if you're thinking about taking a step to the left and you take a step to the right? How'd I do? Like,
you're like psyching yourself out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, it's an intentional process, but again, evolution, that's a turbulent process. That process involves friction. And like, there will be no greater friction than the one that you experience within yourself when you're trying to change a part of your being, your state of consciousness, because now you have to realign with something entirely different. And it's not like from a different place, it's just a new level. And so like, but you have to get there through intentional effort. Like, you're not just going to like fall into it.
Right.
Like, that alignment takes action first inside. You have to change the thought process, and then you have to change the action.
Yeah. Man, I love so much that you mentioned that, because I always say evolving isn't pretty. Like the word evolve, I think it's a pretty word, right? And I use like the butterfly because it's like the ultimate transformation as like the logo. And it's just such a beautiful thing to look at. But that's why I say like evolving is not pretty, because just like you said, once you make up your mind that you are going to evolve into something you've never been before, now actually aligning those actions with that is such a difficult process. Like we're not going to sit here and just say, oh, hey, just evolve. Oh, hey, just change your thoughts and patterns and beliefs.
Right.
And
you got it.
Go ahead later.
Bye.
No, like it's hard, and you're going to have moments of failure. You're going to have moments of not measuring up. Right. But what is the result at the end of this is so beautiful and so worth it. And, you know, kind of what you were mentioning earlier, it's like you have this idea of who you are and what you're going to be. And then if your actions don't align with that, that's where you have that misalignment. You know, I think about this morning, I like 0% of me wanted to go get my training in this morning, getting up at 5:15 on a Saturday, you know, and going to train. I just got back from Austin. I had the craziest week. And I woke up and I was like, none of me wants to go.
Right.
Like it's a Saturday and like I don't technically have to, because like my, you know, my programming is like, Monday through Friday.
Right. Right.
All the excuses,
Every
last excuse. Right. And I just said, shut up. I sometimes just tell myself, I'm like, shut up.
Yep.
And when I think about it, it was actually the simplest thing in the world, because all I did was grab my bag, grab my keys, and walk out the door. I pressed start on my car. I drove there, right? Like the actual action is pretty simple.
Yeah.
If you will just shut your brain up, like shut your thoughts off, shut your brain up. And guess what? At the end of the training session, I forgot that I didn't even want to be there. I was so happy. I had an amazing training session. I learned so much. I just left with the biggest smile on my face, with accomplishment in my heart.
Right. Yes.
You know?
Especially overcoming that internal battle.
Yes. And it's just, it happens every single time. There's not one single time that I leave there and I'm like, man, I should have slept in.
Right. I really could have used that sleep. That would have been much more productive.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was like, hell yes. Like that's the way that I want to start my Saturday and any day, you know, is doing what I said I would do, being in alignment with the highest version of myself, practicing excellence, you know, pretending as if like there were cameras on me and the whole world could see. Okay, you say that you practice excellence, but what do you do when no one sees? What do you do in your dark room? Do you press that snooze or do you get up? You know, do you make your bed or do you leave it? You know, it's all those little things like you mentioned.
It's crazy to me because like I've made a few like short form videos of like a morning routine, and it's just so funny to me, the comments that I see from people. It doesn't bug me, it's literally comical to me, where people are like, nobody does this in the morning, nobody would ever.
Oh, no
you
way.
You read every morning? No way. You don't do that. You write? No way. I'm like, no, you don't do that at present. You could. It probably could help you. I don't even respond to it. So I'm gonna let you stew on that. I'm gonna wait for you to come back to your own comments so you can read what you said. Like, but it's funny because I'm like, it's not a reflection of me. I wouldn't put that out there. They don't know me, so like I get it. Like they could think like, oh, this is just a facade. He's doing it for social. Nah, that's legit. I actually did that entire routine in the piece of my own mind before I started filming it. I mimed it so you could see it, but I really did do this earlier, 100%. You know? And so like it's funny because people will excuse themselves from trying to attain a level of excellence by just saying that no one does this. No one would ever do this. I saw one comment was like, I'd rather be human. And I'm like, well, yeah, we all are. I am. I'm just making a different set of decisions. And it's like, they want
love that.
And they want to like excuse themselves from creating a new level of personal standard and excellence for themselves by saying that no one does it. And it's like, well, I know quite a few people who do things that I'm doing, and they probably do it with a deeper intention even than I do.
100%.
And are I'm aspiring to do more than what you're even seeing.
Yeah.
And maybe not even more per se, but like bring it in deeper to like really have it resonate with my own being. And I'm just showing you so you can maybe catch a wave of that inspiration and try it out yourself. But
absolutely,
it is really, like you said, when you wake up, like what decision are you going to make? And as soon as you make the harder decision, that is when the battle starts, because your mind is going to go to work at attack. And like, nah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. And like, here's the thing. Once you make the right decision, the decision that's in alignment with the highest version of you, you build this momentum, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like this morning, 0% of me wanted to go there, had an amazing session. And then I'm 100% happy at the end, right? And so proud, so satisfied. What am I going to do when I go home now? Do you think I'm going to start pressing the easy button on things? No.
Right.
I'm going to choose the best option for me every time, because I've already started the day off on that right foot. Mm-hmm. You know, that's another reason why something as simple as like drinking your greens, right? Mm-hmm. Like drinking your greens first thing in the morning. It's like you're already putting health and nutrition into yourself. So it makes it easier, in my opinion, to continue down that same road. And there's something I wanted to mention about the comments and such. You know, I think two things play a part in this. At the beginning of the show, we talked about how everybody in the room at like First Phorm HQ or at the athlete weekends, there's no facade. Like, we are who we are through thick and thin. Like, that is just us. Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, that's really not true of every group and everyone that you encounter. And so I think people are used to that on social media. They're used to people putting on a facade, putting on, creating content that's not truly them in order to do something else. So for us, it's confusing. It's like, why would I create this? Yeah, why would I do that?
Eventually, I won't want to do it.
Totally, because like for us, it doesn't make sense because we are who we are, right? But to them, that's what they're used to. Mm-hmm. And then I had Megan, who she was my assistant for a little while, but she lived here at my house for the last like month or so, a couple of weeks ago. And I remember like the first few times that she kind of saw my morning routine in person, and she goes, "Oh," I was like, "What?" She goes, "You're like about this." Mm-hmm. She's like, "I don't think people get it on social media." She's like, we're in that meditation room for like an hour. Yeah. Like you're about this, and it's like important to you, and you do it before you do your other stuff. And she just got to like really in person observe like the way that I live my life. And she's like, this is you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, man, like it's always been me.
Right. Like, I wasn't joking.
Yeah. and I totally feel you on how you're like, creating the content to show and inspire, but you're like, but I got mine in before.
Right. I had to do this
my
before.
Time.
Yes. Like I the very first time I did like create content around my morning routine, I was like, do I do this? And I was like, my thought immediately was like, I'm not going to bastardize my routine for this.
Totally.
Like
this is my time.
Yeah, this is my time. Like I actually won't be able to do this if I'm not doing this. Yeah. Cause what's observed is changed. You know what I'm saying? Mm. And so like, I was like, this will throw off the whole day. 100%. This will literally throw off the whole day if I do this like this. Yeah. And so I was like, just get it done, and then you can create it. You have the time. I was like, totally. You have the time for it, brother. Like, you're trying to rush yourself for no reason. Like, it's going to get done.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. And I was like, and I already knew as I was filming, I'm like, people are going to think I'm bullshitting this. Mm-hmm. I was like, people are going to think this is total crock of shit. But I'm like, nah, this is for real. Like, if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be able to consciously move forward in my day with intent because the intention was never set. And like you said, even like taking your greens first thing in the morning, it just sets your mind to understand and look out for opportunities of like, how can I stay in alignment with this? Mm-hmm. That's why it's so vitally important. Don't grab your phone first thing in the morning. Don't look for a notification first thing in the morning because it will change the course of your thought life for the day. And that will thus change the physical actions that you're taking throughout the day, And so many people will wake up, roll over, turn the alarm off, and then they'll lay in bed with their phone. Mm-hmm. And I always like kind of like shirk when I hear that. And I'm like, ooh, you're walking into a landmine, like a field of landmines. Like, you don't know, you could open up something and see something you don't want to see. Like, it could be your friend group went out, you didn't know they went out, and they were out without you. Now you feel some type of way. Now you're mad.
Yeah.
You didn't even get out of bed. You mad. Like, you made yourself mad. Like, you made yourself mad. You're blaming other people. And then throughout the day, you find that everywhere. You would find that everywhere. Traffic. Yeah, you're going to find something to be pissed about. You're at the grocery store. Somebody took something that you was about to reach for, but there's another one on the shelf, but they took the one that you was looking at. Like, you just find opportunities to, like, be mad about it. So it's like that morning is so intentional for being intentional throughout your day.
Yeah, I think that's so good. And I always like to give them like actionable steps. So for everyone listening that's like really understanding this and wanting to practice it, I would say identify some things that make you your most excellent self and see how you can execute on those things first thing in the morning, the very first part of your day. Even if it's something as simple as taking your greens, right? And drinking some water. Drink a glass of water, take your greens, do a little meditation, prayer, intentionality, gratitude, whatever it is that makes you your best self. And maybe some people have the opportunity to have like a 20-minute, 30-minute morning routine. Maybe some people don't. I don't care if it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just do something. Yeah. Sometimes it has to be. Just get in that habit of putting yourself in the right position in order to step into your highest self for that day, knowing full well that as much as we want to grow and learn and evolve, at the same time, you are your best self today. So like really acknowledge that, really be proud of yourself for how far you've come and just give it your best. That's all that we can do every single day is give it our absolute best, knowing that if we're gifted tomorrow, it'll be a new chance, a new opportunity to do that too.
Absolutely. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, right?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. Well, hey, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much for being on today's show.
Yeah, absolutely. I already knew the conversation was going to be good. It always is. It always is. But I'm glad that we're able to walk down the path that we did. It's always refreshing, not just to try and impart that, but anytime that is happening, it's like solidifying it, and I'm learning new things. Like, and just it's just good.
Yeah, I agree. It's nice when it's reciprocal. Yeah. All right, guys, you know the drill. If you enjoyed today's show, do me a favor, tag both myself and Stacey on your Instagram stories. Let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know if we should do another show together sometime soon, maybe at HQ. I'm thinking about bringing my equipment and, the intentionality, making the decision and making it happen.
Yes, 100%.
So maybe a group one too. I think that'd be dope.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome. A little powwow, a little kumbaya. We
would be elevating on just like such different levels. We would start flying.
Literally, that would be taken so far. I would love that. That'd be great.
So, all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in another episode of Evolve with Emily soon. Bye.